there's one takeaway for me from all of this, is to borrow from Israel's national anthem, Hatikva. The tikva, hope. Let's strip it to the word tikva, hope. The message, with all of the challenges, all of the issues we've dealt with on BDS and anti-Semitism and anti-Zionism and Iran and Hamas and Hezbollah and divisions within Israeli society and polarization in the United States, all real, all serious, all potentially deadly. But one takeaway, tikva, hope. Why? Well, let me dial back first and then come back to the Global Forum. I'll tell you why. Because on May 8th, 1945, the end of the war in Europe, we could justifiably celebrate the Allied victory over the Third Reich 988 years before Hitler's 1,000-year plan. For the Jewish people, the end of the war was also a reason for celebration, but also an occasion to take stock. And I needn't tell this audience what the balance sheet looked like. So how was it that from the lowest point in Jewish history, from a point in time where Jews were unable to defend themselves, were tossed into the dustbin of history by so many others, neglected, ignored, brutalized, isolated, within 1,000 days, Jewish history had reached the pinnacle of the last 2 millennia, the rebirth of the State of Israel. In 1,000 days, the Jewish people, who perhaps had every right of any people on earth to call it quits, to say, you know what? The price is just too high. Okay, I signed up for the arguing at the Seder table, as Naftali Bennett said. I didn't sign up for Belzhitz and Birkenau and Buchenwald and Babi Yar. I didn't sign up for the Yellow Star and the Nuremberg laws. I didn't sign up for the Evian conference and the Bermuda conference, which were allegedly supposed to help me, and turn their backs on me. I'm giving it up. The price is too high. But we didn't. Or more precisely, they didn't. Somehow, miraculously, those Jews, whether the survivors or those who were in safety but witnessed from afar what occurred, those people found the faith and the fortitude and the footing to begin again. And the project, above all, centered on this state. The lesson of the Holocaust, above all, was never again must we be powerless and defenseless. Never again must we depend on the goodwill of others when there's neither good nor will. And 1,000 days later, the flag of this state reemerged. We sing Hatikva. Some of us know the words and what they mean, and others don't. But concentrate on the words, Liot am chofshi be'artzenu, to be a free people in our own land. That's what this state means. For that, they found the faith and the footing and the fortitude. They found the courage. But the end of the process was not May 14th, 1948, was it? It was only the beginning of the next chapter. And the next chapter was the next attempt to annihilate now the first Jewish state on the planet. And 650,000 people many of them the survivors on the ship that Phil Lebrine brought in, somehow managed to emerge victorious against 5 standing Arab armies, including the British-trained Transjordanian army. They survived, they prevailed, they built, they defended democracy and the rule of law, they defended their borders, they created the ingathering of the exiles. No, it was not easy, no, it was not always perfect, but they did it. And today, you see General Rosen, and you see the majors, and you see the blinded lieutenant, and you see the retired general, and you see our own Lieutenant Colonel Avital Leibovich, whose eldest daughter is entering the IDF, when I'm certain that Avital and her husband prayed that unlike themselves, their children would not have to put on the uniform and potentially go to war. Myra Clark Siegel's daughter is now about to enter the IDF as well. That's their life, that's their reality, and yet they believe in life and they believe in hope, and we need to do the same. The remarkable thing for me about Israel is contained in the joke that some of you may know. God reputedly was so angry with the world that he announced that he would flood the world in 2 weeks. So the president of France got on the television channels and announced to the French people that they will have vacation for the next 2 weeks and they can pursue la joie de vivre because the world is going to come to an end. And the Israeli Prime Minister then got on television here and announced to the Israeli people, God has announced that he will flood, or she will flood the world in 2 weeks. We have 2 weeks to learn how to live underwater. That's this country. That's this country. You'll build missiles, we'll build the Iron Dome and David Sling. You want to build tunnels? We'll build the sonar equipment to find and destroy the tunnels. You want to go underwater? We'll find you too. You want to fly kites? We'll find you too. You want to try and destroy us through BDS? We'll create an innovative society that no smart company or country in the world can afford to ignore. Liot am chofshi be'artzenu, Eretz Zion v'Yerushalayim, to be a free people in our own land, the land of Zion and Jerusalem. That's what's been accomplished here. And too often I fear that we Jews, particularly abroad, get so obsessed with the politics of the day. Does the current leadership fit the uniform of particular values that we proudly wear in Brookline or Berkeley or Bethesda or Houston or Dallas? And if it doesn't quite fit, we walk away, we're disappointed. We expected more. Well, first and foremost, I believe that Israelis expect more of themselves, and that's the true sign of a democracy that will always be a work in progress. But why don't we cut a little slack and understand what people here are grappling with on a daily basis? What's going through Avital Leibovich's mind as her daughter is about to enter the IDF at a time when most of our kids are most obsessed with whether they're going to go to this college or that college, and whether they're going to pledge a fraternity or sorority or not. She's choosing the unit in which she's going to serve. We're choosing the college in which we're going to study and play. I said at the Board of Governors meeting that there's a third front. A third front. The first front is the front the IDF confronts and the Mossad and the Shin Bet. The second front is the civilian population of Israel that has been deliberately targeted by Israel's enemies to cut into that so-called soft underbelly, and yet has shown such remarkable resilience and courage and determination. If you go to the Dolphinarium along the Tel Aviv promenade, on June 1st, 2001, it was attacked and destroyed by terrorists, killing some 20 young Israelis who were going to dance. And the next day, the graffiti on what was left of the building included the following words, which I saw with my own eyes: "They will not stop us from dancing." Will we, on the third front, the front that today includes many American college campuses and even some high schools, many city councils, many state legislatures, many elections of all kinds, many other fronts, the human rights front, the legal front, the NGO front, go down the list. We are the third front, and let's be clear, a lot of the people we're talking about are not engaged in legitimate criticism of Israel. Boy, did you hear it in that debate last night, didn't you, between the two? We're talking about the hardcore stuff. The people who mask their deeply felt anti-Semitism as anti-Zionism, and their righteous moral indignation for only one country on earth, and that country happens to be the only liberal democracy in the Middle East. Something deeper is going on. So if traditional forms of anti-Semitism don't work because neo-Nazism is out of vogue in some parts of the world, thankfully, let's create a new form, a new guise. And that's where AJC stands strong and tall across America and around the world. And that's where you come in, and that's where I come in. We can't leave the Global Forum, this last moment. We can't leave it if we don't make New Year's resolutions, if you will, that have a longer lifespan than the ones we make at midnight on December 31st, January the 1st. If we don't leave here in some way materially changed, spiritually changed, then we failed. This was not meant to be a closed-end 4-day or 6-day experience. This was meant to lead to something more, to recharge our batteries, to remind us of what this is really all about, to be inspired by people of extraordinary courage and conviction, to be touched, and to go back not just angry about the unfairness of it all. I get the anger. I have a primal scream inside me every day of the week. And believe me, if you know my wife, she has it in spades. Rather, it's about how to channel that anger smartly, sophisticatedly, successfully. And no one in the world does it better and more smartly than AJC. That's our front. And our future? It got a lot brighter in the last 48 hours. Thank you, Gail Binderman. Thank you. Thank you to your children. Thank you to the foundation for believing in the young people here and the young people to come. Thank you for making it possible for them to become part of AJC. And to Todd Cooper, and to Charlie Cooper, and to the Milton and Shirley Cooper clan, you've made our future bright as well. So we see our future. We see our future in the young people here. We see our future in these extraordinary gifts. So let me end with one anecdote which is particularly, for me, appropriate for this occasion. In 1981, I was invited as a kind of secret agent to go to the Soviet Union on the occasion of the Moscow International Book Fair, which was a biennial event. And I got credentials and was part of a collection of books and all of Jewish books that we were able to get into the country. And the KGB tried to put us in the most inaccessible part of the Congress Hall, so people wouldn't find us. But somehow, through word of mouth, many of the Jews of the Soviet Union did find us. And they lined up endlessly, hour after hour, to get into our little small space in order to see the few Jewish books and other material that we were eventually able to get in. And I was the only Russian speaker in the group. The others were publishers. I was the other guy. And at a certain point, there was an elderly man who kept almost fondling one of the books. And I approached him very gingerly, and I said to him, "Sir, there's a long line. If you wouldn't mind, perhaps you could move on." And he looked at me with eyes that I will never forget. And he said to me, "Young man, I don't read Hebrew. They wouldn't let me learn Hebrew. I don't read Yiddish. They wouldn't let me learn Yiddish. But don't deny me this one chance in my lifetime to breathe your Jewish air." We've all breathed the air of Israel for the last 4 days. Let's keep some of it inside us. I wish you all a safe trip. Thank you for coming, and see you next year at the Global Forum.